Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second In the Dugout webinar series, your destination for online conversation where we can continue to explore and share best practices for growing your leagues and enjoying a most successful 2022 season. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Rob Connor. I am the Vice President of Operations here at Babe Ruth headquarters. And I'm going to be your host as we talk to some local league presidents and some people here that work with us at Babe Ruth headquarters to help give you some insight and plenty of information to help you with getting started for the 2022 season and hopefully some new ideas as well. For those of you who attended last month's webinar and responded to our survey, we sincerely appreciate the feedback and the info that you provided. What you're seeing here tonight is actually a direct result of the individuals who took the time to complete that survey. We will be sending out another survey at the completion of the webinar. It will probably go out sometime tomorrow. And we would ask anybody, taking part tonight to give us your thoughts and answer those questions, because we really would like to use this medium to go out and have content and items that we think that would be beneficial for local leagues and as well as our volunteer commissioners. So for tonight, we're going to try to keep it to 30 minutes. Last month, we ran a little bit closer to an hour. The chat room is open. We do have a question and answering session if you're able to go in there, and we'll do our best to reply during our webinar here tonight. If by chance we happen to not get to all the questions, we will respond to you either later on this evening or by tomorrow if we somehow miss one of your questions. We will be coming soon on our website with on our national website. We'll have a landing page for In the Dugout. You'll find the logo, and we're going to be posting these videos up there so that people who were not able to view the first one and now the second one would be able to take in the webinar topics. So for tonight, we have a great lineup. We have two host World Series presidents and two league presidents. They have double duty this year in 2022. Longtime volunteer, Mr. Kurt Bushy from Vincennes, Indiana, is going to lead us off tonight. After Kurt, we're going to be talking with Matt Fabian from Ocala. They're going to be hosting the 8-year-old Machine Pitch World Series. And he is the new league president for the Rotary Club, or Ocala, Cal Ripken, and Babe Ruth Baseball. And then from the Babe Ruth headquarters side, we have Mike Moligano, who works for Media Vision Creative, and he really works with our team here at headquarters. And he's going to be going over some new items that we would love to show local leagues when we're talking about your websites and social media, and to give you guys some ideas that you can use with trying to get your message out about your program, and possibly areas that we could help facilitate some of those needs for you from headquarters. And then outside of myself, we also have Daniela, who is the Ohio Valley Region's service rep. So many of you may know her from that region. And if you have been to some of the World Series, you very well could have met Daniela as you were planning to have your team come. So that's our lineup for tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to start tonight with Kurt Bushy from Vincennes, Indiana. So Kurt, why don't we fill in everybody as to a little bit about Vincennes and how you run the league, and talk. Let's get it started with a little bit of your background and how you've been involved and how it is to manage the league today versus managing it a few years ago.
Well, thanks, Rob, and thanks for inviting me. I've been involved with our league. We call it Vincennes Cub League. We were formed back in 1958. I actually played in the league in the late 1960s and early 1970s, and then came back to Vincennes after college and a couple other job stints away from my hometown, and have been here now since 1988. And I immediately got involved with the league in 1988 and have been ever since. So we're just a little bit younger than Babe Ruth in general. We've not been involved with Babe Ruth since the very beginning, 1958. But I believe we've been affiliated with Babe Ruth League Inc. since the late 1980s, maybe around 86, 87. So have a great relationship with Babe Ruth. We're the size of our town is about 20,000 residents, but we serve a bigger area. Our county is about 45,000, and we have some players from around neighboring counties. Our league is about 650 kids, age range from 3 to 15. And what I like to tell about that is that half of our players are 8 years old or younger. So I'm sure that's not foreign to many of the folks listening in that run leagues in today's time, that we're really bottom heavy when you talk about age groups, if you cover the full gamut. So we end up with I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 teams and in 7 leagues. And obviously we deal with some of the same issues that those on the call probably deal with, and that is keeping a local league running to serve the bigger community, at the same time offering competitive programs to maintain those better players, the more skilled players, maybe the more families that are more well-funded, able to keep those kids involved with our league, as well as the kids that are just looking for a rec league experience. So far, so good on that. We've adjusted our schedules, whereas maybe 10 years, 15 years ago, we played 6 days a week and all day on Saturday. It was a big day at the ballpark for our league play. Most recently, the last few years, we've left a lot of the Friday and Sundays. We don't really schedule games on Sunday unless it's a rainout situation, but we've left those weekends open for what we call our postseason teams, or for kids who may be involved in a travel league. Around our area, most of the travel games, at least during the spring and early summer, are on weekends, weekend tournaments and so forth. So our league has been successful in walking that fine line between the travel ball and the postseason ball getting started so early. The days of playing your league and then taking maybe a break at Memorial Day and then having tryouts for your tournament trail team or your postseason team or your all-star teams, whatever you choose to call those days are over, in my opinion, and in our league. Most of our postseason teams are in place about the same time or even before our league gets started. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's reality. And for us to compete with and to keep those kids involved in our league and playing in our league, we've learned to kind of adjust some of our philosophies and learn to work with that. So we play about 500 games a year at our facility. As Rob mentioned, we've hosted, I think this coming summer will be our 7th World Series that we've hosted, all at the Cal Ripken level. Actually, the first World Series we hosted in 1998 was one of the last Bambino World Series for 12-year-olds. And then in 2001, we hosted the inaugural 10-year-old Cal Ripken World Series, and also the 12-year-old series that year. So all total, we've had 31 regionals, I believe, Ohio Valley regionals, and 7. This will be our 7th World Series this summer with the 10-year-olds.
Kurt, what do you think when you're communicating with your parents in your local league and you see what they're coming back with questions? You have the kids that are wanting to play in a local league setting, maybe not wanting to go and do all stars or go to different locations outside of the town to go and play. And then you have the others, as you mentioned, that are looking for more of that tournament experience for a greater portion of the season. What are some of the comments that you're getting from some of the parents as far as, those parents that are looking to say, hey, I want my kid to go out and play all stars. What do you got for me? I think my kid is, going to be the next second baseman for the, New York Yankees one day.
Yeah. Well, our situation is that we're in a relatively small town. We're not in a metroplex or metropolitan area where there are a lot of competing leagues for a youngster to play baseball. And of course, there are situations where parents decide, well, my son's going to play this summer for the Bulls or the travel play programs. Mostly in our area, if they're going to do that, they're going to have to drive to at a minimum an hour and a half away to 2 or 3 hours up to Indianapolis. So we don't have very much of that. What we do have is we have groups of people within our league that want to start their postseason play, at the get-go when the season starts. In fact, they sign up to play in some. I walked in a restaurant a couple of years ago before the pandemic. I saw kids in baseball uniforms, and it was like mid to late February. In our uniforms or our league uniforms, I could tell they were from our league. And I thought, what in the world? Did they have picture day today or what's going on? They were chomping at the bit to get out and play baseball, and they had already scheduled some games in some relatively local tournaments with postseason type players. I'm a diehard supporter of local league play. I still think we can coexist with the strong-willed postseason, well-funded, travel environment. I have grandkids that are involved. I know I've traveled to USSSA. I'm probably not supposed to say that term on this webinar, but I've traveled to see those tournaments going on around our area. We don't host any of those kind of tournaments. We probably never will as long as I'm involved. But I think we can coexist and we can have strong league play. We're a community. We want to provide a baseball experience for the most kids we can. And I go back to what I said earlier. Half of our kids are 8 years old or younger. And for the most part, those kids don't know anything about travel ball yet. Now, I'm sure in the big cities, in the more metropolitan areas, they may have travel teams for T-ball. I don't know. I'm not aware of any in our area. Kurt, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I think that's helpful. And we do have a couple questions that are coming in, and we're going to get to those here shortly with after we talk to Matt and others. But if you had like 30 seconds, you and I spoke before about the fact that you've been involved in your local league program for a very long time, and you were mentioning landlines and those technologies that go back a long way. If you had like 30 seconds, what you mentioned about the fact that you were working with Sports Engine for your online registration. Any thoughts that you want to offer to a league president who may not be using them?
I don't know. It's been 5 years ago now, probably. We converted completely to online through Sports Engine, what it's called Sports Engine now. And we have found that to be, very helpful. League management, scheduling, rosters, the old fashioned way of submitting raw. I don't even know how we did it back then, to be honest with you, compared to the information that we have now because of the technology. And it's just made our league a lot easier to run, and from year to year, because people are already in the system, they can just click on, and renew their membership or their registration. And I would highly recommend to anyone. And I'm the guy, remember, I just said that I'm never going to have a computer at my house. I told everybody that back in the 90s, and I don't know how we do it today without it.
Back when I was a league president many moons ago, before I worked for Babe Ruth League, it was vastly different than how we were running things compared to today. So, Kurt, I really appreciate it. And, stand by because we will have some questions here in a little bit. But I'm going to ask Matt to turn his camera on. And again, everybody, Matt is the league president for Ocala, Florida, Ocala Rotary, and he's in his first year. So you're going from somebody who's been in a local league program for decades now to Matt, who's been in his local league, but now stepped up to be the league president. So Matt, why don't you just take a moment and explain to everybody about Ocala, Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ocala, we're right in the middle of horse country. We're if you drop a pin in the middle of Florida, that's exactly where we are. Rotary was built by the county on state property back in '98. So we're actually celebrating our 25th year at the park this year. Kurt played in the 60s at his league. I actually played in the first season in 1998. Played in '98, and baseball is just in my blood. It's in my family. We love the game of baseball, passionate about it, and I love every aspect of the game. Actually, and I'm loving this side of it, the administration side. So, Rotary, we have 8 Cal Ripken fields. We have 3 Babe Ruth fields, and I believe our Babe Ruth charter is one of the longest continual charters in the country. I think we're over 60 years. But we have about 500 kids in our league, and like Rob said, I've been president since September. So first thing I did when I became president was I researched and called every single past president that we've had. And the other thing I've done is I've started reaching out to other of our league presidents in town. We have, I want to say 4 or 5 Cal Ripken organizations within Marion County. So, we compete in a way for kids, but we're all after the same goal, and that's to create a fun environment for the kids. But I'm a firm believer that we can learn from everybody, no matter how big or how small our parks are. And that's why I'm happy to be on here and, taking notes, listening to Kirk. And, there's no perfect way to run a league. And if there was, then we would just have a book and we'd go from there. But, biggest challenge that I had when I took over the board, we hosted the 8U World Series in August, and we had a total of 6 board members. And it's hard to run a park of 500 people, of 500 kids with 6 board members. So the other thing that does is it creates a perception, if you will, that all decisions are made in a vacuum. And so I saw that from the outside. And what we've done now is we've expanded to, we have about 22 board members now. And my best way of gaining board members, I shared this with Rob earlier. So as you'll know, running a league, when your phone rings at 8 o'clock at night, parents aren't calling to tell you how great of a job you're doing or how great the umpires were that night on particular games. So anytime I answer the phone, I appreciate or I thank the parents for calling me. And I just share with them that as passionate as they are for calling me, I'd love to have their help on the board. And, we're actively looking for board members. And first thing that I'd always hear, well, I don't have time for that. And I would say, no, but you have time to call me at 8 o'clock at night. So let's talk. What do you have going on here? And just 2 things. Either they'll agree to join the board, or it minimizes the item that they were calling about. But increasing our board size has been awesome already. We had a board meeting Monday, and just the different ideas and different just angles that people from within our community that are at the park come to. decisions are a lot, I feel, more well-rounded for the park. A couple of the ideas that I want to share that we came up with is we're going to start our season early this year. And that was brought to us because everybody that's watched the news over the past year has heard that there might be something called a supply chain issue going on. And so the sooner that we can get our uniforms ordered, hats ordered, and everything, we'll be able to get started. We're also going to start a spring training before we break up and to go into our team separate ways to create more of a family type feel. And that way, because I played at a small park growing up, we had one field. Actually, my son's first couple of years of baseball was at a small park, and that family feel when you show up to the park and know everybody is very fulfilling. You lose that when you have 500 people if you don't find a way to bridge that gap. So we're going to try that this season. I can let you know if it's good or not. But the other thing that we've done is with the spring training, we've reached out to a few of our local vendors, equipment dealers, and all those guys get bats to demo for the kids. So they're going to bring them out. And it kind of helps bridge the gap between the community and our local league. But like Kirk was saying, that the kids in his area would have to drive an hour and a half or so to play in a travel ball. We don't have that problem in Ocala. We have about 8 local travel ball organizations that we have to compete with every single season for kids. So what we've kind of done is we've embraced it instead of fighting against it. With our increased board size, we try to host a tournament once a month. And what that does is that helps us as a board learn what we can do better when we get to the Cal Ripken All-Star season. Also shows how much more help we need, but we also learn ideas. We're purchasing a popcorn machine and a snow cone machine just because of different ideas from the travel ball tournaments that we hosted over the fall. So we try to learn with everything that we do. We did host the 8U Machine Pitch World Series, and that event was awesome. If you are anywhere around a World Series this year, I would definitely recommend either work your butt off to try to qualify for it, or if it is an invitational, make the trip. The kids are treated like royalty. My son was 7 last year and got to play in the event, and he's looking forward to it again this year. But so I coached it, I ran it, and it was a great event. The biggest takeaway that I had from the World Series was the impact that social media can have. I'm one of those that I started in college on social media, kind of got away from it, and it's got a negative stigma, but when used the right way, we used it and started promoting our games, and it was amazing how many people from the community that I hadn't seen in forever would see a post on our league page or anything and show up. So we use that to promote games for the World Series, recognize our local sponsors, again, try to bridge that gap between the business world and our local park. And then there may or may not be a video of me getting my hair dyed after a game on the social media page. So
yeah, don't have that, Matt.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, with the social media, we saw the impact that it had with the World Series. We at our board meeting Monday, we agreed to launch a social media committee that we're going to allow to run all of our accounts, help with communication, help with the awareness of different tournaments that we have going on, and put together some type of weekly newsletter, recognize our Sportsman of the Week, and use that kind of as a way to continue to grow our park.
First of all, I want to thank you for the time tonight and being available for some of the questions that we're going to have here in the end. But that last thing that you touched on, and as far as social media and using that as you're doing to kind of get what you're doing at the park, and from registrations to activities at the field, that engagement, because so many people are on their phones, they're on social media, and it's a great way to be able to get a hold of them. And I really like the idea that you had said that you actually got a committee that's going to help organizing it, because really when you dive into those different platforms, there's a whole gamut of things that you learn and do. And, you know, basically the more people that you can get to help would be great. So with that, that's a perfect segue for me now to introduce our next guest. And this is Mike Moligano. He is the creative director for Media Vision Creative. Media Vision Creative works alongside myself here at headquarters. Their team and ours work together on different marketing and communication plans here over the last 18 months. They've been a tremendous help. And Mike is actually going to dive into a deck here. And this is going to be really good for everybody to actually touch on some of these communication points that Matt was talking about and some of the technology aspects that Kurt brought up in his presentation. So with that, Mike, welcome, and let's take it for a roll.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity talking to everyone here. Social media is like such a big subject. I'm going to try and squeeze it down to like 5 minutes. But certainly, we can, if there's interest, we can certainly have another show that goes a little deeper on the subject as well, notwithstanding what Matt and Kurt have added to this as well. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and hopefully everyone will be able to see this. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, I can. It's up on it, and we have it on the full page.
Okay,
Perfect.
great. So my name is Mike Moligano, real quick, and I'm creative director of Media Vision Creative. Media Vision, like Rob said, working with Rob Connor and his team internally at Babe Ruth League for a little over a year. We're their creative marketing team, external team, and we work with Rob and his team to reach all their business objectives throughout the season. So appreciate the time. So before we dive into it, I just want to step back real quick and just talk about digital marketing strategy, because what that is simply is, a plan that really interconnects all of the channels that will work together in synergy, right? So social media is part of it, but you also have your website, and you also have emails that you send out to your constituents. And you may even segment your audience if you are in control of baseball and softball leagues as well. So sometimes you're going to send out different messages to both of those audiences. But social media obviously certainly is a big part of communicating and reaching out there. And social media really, when you rue it down, is talking with the right people in the right places. And we all know this: Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube as well. We at headquarters, we're using mostly Facebook and Instagram, and also we have some channels on YouTube as well. I just want to kind of show an example that we may all be familiar with what we've done in the past, utilizing all of these touch points. We did this national to local promotion example, and we called it Opening Day, and everyone might recognize this. And what we decided to do was make this, a premier part of our Babe Ruth League season. And we also brought on our sponsor, Dick's Sporting Goods, as, a premier sponsor here. So we updated the bug. We put our sponsor partner prominently on it. And we also messaged that out to all of you and all of your leagues and said, hey, please, here's what we want to do. Here's our messaging. Here's our call to action. Here's what we look like. And we sent out some key visuals, which was what you see here. And we had great response from all of you out there. And you posted it on your local websites. And we have our call to action with our hashtag. We used hashtag BRL Opening Day. And our call to action is share your moments on opening day at this hashtag. Hashtags are really important because what it does is anyone who's posting to their own Facebook page, if they include the address, which is a hashtag, what it'll do is it aggregates everyone's individual posts into kind of one space. So if someone's posting on Instagram or on Facebook and they use this hashtag, it'll all aggregate there as well, and which is really important. But the support and raising awareness of the program, along with the hashtag integration and call to action, this was really, really well supported. So thank you to everyone out there. And we saw results for that. So our campaign started with these social media posts. And we created these digital templates. So everything looked branded. And we can do these things. And I have an example of what we can do for local leagues moving forward coming up. But we have like messaging that was relevant at the time because everyone was coming out of COVID. So we wanted to have some great, messaging and our consistent call to action, share your moments. But our messaging, we wanted to like resonate. So the idea coming out of COVID, we came up with things like first non-Zoom meeting of the season, and here's to wearing masks and reality classroom in session, just kind of having some fun out of what we all just went through. Of course, we also came up with things that are more kind of evergreen for baseball. So things like there's nothing like that first hit, which we all have that emotional connection to, seeing our kids like crack the bat for the first time of the season. And what we saw was everyone really liked these call to actions. They had a lot, they got it. They thought it was a lot of fun. And we saw it because everyone shared it. And that's what shares and likes come into play, even comments, a really important thing to see and to start with kind of, seeing your constituents interact and support and grow your campaign by sharing it and engaging with it. The next part that really makes a lot of sense and that you really look for is encouraging user-generated content. And when people like to have fun with what they're doing and they start taking pictures and sharing on the hashtag their own experiences. And this is really kind of like the gauge of a successful campaign. And we were fortunate enough for opening day to see kind of unprecedented engagement from a user-generated content perspective. And we were really appreciative of everyone's efforts to make this happen. And people shared pictures before the game, during the game, after game, they shared videos, and it was just fantastic support. So you see right in front of you, growing your community and engaging with it through social media and some simple little tactics, you can net a really nice big result. So how can we at Babe Ruth League headquarters help you? So we put together like this preseason campaign idea, and this is just a rough comp, but we're going to be doing something like this coming up to help raise awareness of Babe Ruth leagues and encourage people, to sign up and participate. And what we're going to do is we'll put together like a key visual, and I'm just using Rhode Island State Cal Ripken as an example here, but it's like we're going to come up with a key visual that kind of raises the bar for our visual signature and making sure that it captures excitement and passion that we all have for Babe Ruth League baseball. Also the call to action, register now, right, for the 2022 season. So there's a call to action there and raising awareness of what's going on. In the middle, there's like a social media template that we'll create, a little logo bug, call to action. Maybe we'll have a hashtag. And we can also send you just the template itself, and you can insert your own pictures from your own leagues. You can pass the template down to your coaches and even parents, and they can fill it in as well. We can even do things like, take the key visual and put it on a lawn sign, and you can put that in your town square at the busiest street corners, even on your lawn or your neighbor's lawn. And what happens is you start to kind of raise the awareness. People will see these things and these elements, and they all kind of work with each other. They look the same call to action. So there's that repetitive nature and messaging, that consistent messaging and call to action, which is important. So people will recognize it when they come across it outdoors or online as well. And then when you go online, we want to make sure that if you're sending out emails that, it's a simple, bold graphic, and that that the experience of registering your kid or even your league online is real simple. Kurt touched on this with our partners, that experience is, the simpler it is, the better it is, and it's a good reflection on our brand and our leagues. So quickly, some key takeaways here. So some social media tactics that you can use, right? These are tools that you can use. Hashtags, use them because it aggregates the content and you can easily find it in one space. So hashtags are really, really important to your campaign that you're sending out. Also, increase your video content. People love to look at videos. It could be something really short and sweet and succinct. It doesn't need to be long. Matter of fact, the shorter, the better. Content formatting and templates to help raise the bar on what the brand looks like and people's interaction. They'll recognize it and it'll be top of mind, hopefully. And here's one that I think that it would be really good to start seeing, and maybe some of you do this already, which is tag influencers in your community, right? So recognize who's really involved. Is there a softball mom that just kind of has the ear of the whole team? Reach out to them and talk to them, get them on board, and also tag them in your messaging. So yes, you're pushing out information on your social media. But also, if you know these influencers in the community, be sure to call them out and put their hashtags on your post so it goes right to their page, which will engage them at a different level. And you'll start to see that spread a lot. And then data measurement, that's really important as well, is how many likes are you getting? How many shares are you getting? How many people are following you? So just some other quick points. Join conversations, okay? So where are your parents talking? And try and inject yourself into those conversations. And what you start to do when you join those conversations and you're making relevant comments that resonate, you're going to make strong connections. You're going to build your own community with them as well. And encourage them to come to your page and review and give their opinions on what you're doing. This will create engagement and make them have a little skin in the game. And like I said, reach out to the bloggers and the influencers in your communities. These people are key to getting them on board, and getting your messaging out would be key to success. So utilize their enthusiasm to push your messages out there. You start doing a lot of this, and what you'll see is you'll have more content to push and to share, but you'll also be growing your presence of the league. So hopefully that's a little helpful. We can go deeper into these things if there's any questions out there or at a later time. Thank you.
Mike, I really appreciate it. And I think that everybody now can really appreciate the fact that there's a lot of work in doing social media and communication. And it's sometimes real easy on our phones to, like and, comment on people's posts in general. But, facilitating an actual communication plan for the league and responding to people who write in, questions and those types of things. Matt's idea of assembling a committee who might be suited to do those types of things, volunteers that have that kind of time and background, would be a tremendous value to your local league. So thank you, Mike. And I think that the leagues also appreciate some of the things there from the lawn signs and other things that we might be able to turn around and start helping them with some of those designs when we flip the calendar to January. So at this point, I want to introduce Daniela from our office here. In addition to Daniela doing a lot of things for the World Series behind the scenes and all the prep work and logistics, I mentioned at the beginning that she's a service rep for the Ohio Valley region, but she's also actually stepping in temporarily for Jess Cusimano, who's out on medical. So she's actually pulling multiple roles at this moment as the acting National Softball Commissioner. And so Danielle is just going to take some moments here to just go over some news items for the leagues and commissioners and discuss a little bit about chartering and insurance, just here briefly, just on a couple key points that leagues should really know. So Daniela, take it away.
Thanks, Rob. As you may or may not know, chartering for the 2022 season is now open. If your league has a new league president, we ask that the new league president, current admin, the past president, anyone contacts your service rep here at headquarters so we can update the charter before anyone logs in to renew for the coming year. Basically, what we'll need is the league name, the new league president's name, their address. We prefer not a PO box, so anywhere a UPS package can be shipped and accepted. A phone number, a home, work, or cell, just let us know which is which, and an email address that will be used as the login. Once the service rep has that information, we'll update the account. We'll email the new league president their information. With that, they'll go in to renew the existing charter that you have with us. For right now, anyone who is, has their charter in, we're just waiting for the green light. You are notified via email once your charter is approved. So that's the league president and anyone else who may be an admin on the charter will get the email. At that point, you can log back into your league portal, make a payment. Once your payment is posted, your league kit will go out. And if you select K&K Insurance, the day after postmark will be your effective date for the year. So as far as insurance goes, anyone who currently has K&K coverage, your insurance is good until January 31st of 2022. So anyone who submits their charter makes a payment prior to January 31st, 2022, you'll have continuous coverage for the year. If you don't have your charter in by then, or it's not payment, your insurance will go into effect the day after postmark. Once the payment is posted, either an e-check or a mailed-in check, your insurance certificates will become available to you in your league portal for you to view or to print. For new leagues that are joining Babe Ruth, your insurance effective date, if you get everything into us prior to January 1st, that's when your insurance effective date will begin. If you do it after, whenever that date after postmark is, that's when your coverage will begin. So new leagues, if you're joining, with us, if you skipped a year and you're coming in brand new, if you get your information into us this month and it's paid for, your coverage will begin on the 1st. Anyone else any current leagues is January 31st.
So Daniela, just to stop and just to clarify so that everybody understands some of those key points there. Number one, a new league coming into Babe Ruth, if they go in charter today, and when we start making payment approvals, which will be the end of this week, for them to do that, their insurance will be effective on January 1st is the earliest that it's available. And then it would be, if they made payment after January 1st, it would be whatever the date after postmark when it's posted. And then the same thing would go for the returning leagues. The returning leagues do have insurance until January 31st, but if they go in charter and pay, now their charter certificates, their insurance certificates will be good February 1st of 2022. And so when they come in, correct? That's how that's going to work for the returning.
So they'll have continuous coverage. They won't have a lapse in coverage if everything is in prior.
These are good points. And that last one that I had that you touched on as a reminder for the local leagues is that, again, these last 2 years obviously have been very difficult because you're not sure if you were having a season, how many teams. So the best advice that we can give is we're asking you to go in and do a minimum number of teams on your charter and insurance so that your insurance is bound, especially if you're a league that has insurance from last year that's going to expire on January 31st. You don't want to be that league that says, well, you know what, registrations are going to keep coming in. We'll do the charter and start it in April. If you have practices and winter workouts and league activities, your insurance, remember, expires on January 31st. So if you have any questions, you can call us here at headquarters Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 and 5. And our service representatives or other staff that are here to answer the phone will be able to clarify or help you with anything that you need on insurance. So Daniela, do you have
Yeah.
anything else?
Yes,
on,
that is
charter?
yeah, Rob, that is a good point. So a lot of leagues, may be unsure of what they're going to be having for the upcoming season. So we always say charter at least one major team just to have something in and established. Team count changes could be made, whenever your team counts are set. So as long as you have at least one in there and your payment is made, you'll have your insurance coverage. And the last thing I want to talk about is it's a certification year for our commissioners. So we're asking for the state commissioner to send in their financial statements and also their fall meeting minutes. So if they have not sent them in, we're asking to please send them in no later than November 30th. And then also, because our last certification year was back in 2019 and 2020 was kind of like an abbreviated season, we just want to make sure that we have the most current and correct information for all of the commissioners. And we also ask that, you fill out your commissioner form to the fullest. Don't just write us back and say, everything looks good. We really need everything in detailed, who's handling, a district or an assistant, anything like that. So we really need that form filled out completely and sent back to us. Again, hopefully, by November 30th is kind of what we're looking for. Well, it's past November 30th. So it'd be the end of this month. That's kind of what we're looking for. We're trying to get them in as soon as possible, just so we can have everything in and ready to go and your commissioners are all set.
Thank you. And they didn't have it done yet. They're lagging a little bit behind. And for the state commissioners, you want to get that in so that as Daniela said, your commissioners are all in the loop. And then your commissioner kits will go out sometime in January with your rule books, local league guide as they come from the printer. And, your state isn't going to be able to get those items until we have those things. So you want to make sure that you have everything. If you're unsure of anything, you're unsure of who you have, contact us again here at headquarters, and your service rep will be able to fill you in on anything that you need between the hours of 9 and 5, Monday through Friday, or shoot them an email at your leisure. Just a couple other housekeeping items, and Daniela, thank you for going through all that. Before we just get into a handful of the questions that we have here, and I bring back Kurt and Matt for a question or two. As far as other things that are going on here at headquarters, obviously chartering opened up, as Daniela mentioned, on November 30th. We also have the beginnings this week of a new national website. The website has just basically a redesign, and it has a nice, new look and feel. There's still a lot of work that needs to be, done with it as far as content and some of the communication items that, for instance, Mike talked about here, that we're going to be doing from a headquarters point of view and trying to do a better job of. So, if you get time, take a look at it and expect for a formal announcement to come out in January as we're kind of heading in to the holiday season here at headquarters. So we're just working on that, and we'll have some other updates as soon as we get into January as well. The last item, just as far as housekeeping, is headquarters will close on December 23rd at some point in the afternoon or 5 o'clock. And we will be closed until the Monday after New Year's, which I believe is the 4th. And once we get to January 4th, staff will be back, and we'll be getting ready for the 2022 season for our leagues and for our commissioners. So with that, I got one good question here. There's two questions here at the beginning. One I'm going to give to Kurt here in the beginning. Kurt, the question that came up was talking about travel ball. How does your league deal with the differences in rules or the rule structure between, let's say, Cal Ripken baseball and an outside travel program or some type of independent program? And the person mentions he knows that there is some differences and a bigger issue between 10U and 12 or major 70, major 60. So do you have any quick thoughts that you might want to add to that question that came in?
Our league play is all based on Cal Ripken rules. The kids play with Cal Ripken rules. our teams that end up traveling on weekends during our league season and into the trail season, when they're not playing a sanctioned Cal Ripken tournament, which doesn't usually happen until you get into late June and early July, they're playing. We don't host any travel team tournaments. All of our tournaments we host are Cal Ripken, so we're not in the tournament business until July. However, our teams, it's up to them to adapt to the rules that they're playing with in a particular tournament that they're playing in. So I know we have 10-year-olds that play in tournaments, 10-year-old teams that play in tournaments where they lead off and they steal. They might play on 65-foot bases. I mean, I've seen just about everything tried, as far as messing with the game or messing with the rules. But that's really up to those teams to adapt to the rules as they are part of whatever tournament they're playing in that location.
Okay. Thank you, Kurt. Matt, our other question that we have here, both you and Kurt run rather large leagues, but at the end of the day, large or small, there's always a volunteer base of a certain size. So that's needed to run the league. And obviously, the larger leagues can say, well, it's harder to get more volunteers when we got so many teams and things to do. And smaller leagues are saying, well, we're much smaller and we're having trouble just getting people out there. So, what's your advice, to a league president who is, trying to deal with COVID, coming back, some people still not back 100% yet, and just talking about how it is to pull some volunteers in?
It's hard. It's hard. And that's one thing, small parks, large parks, everybody can relate to. So the one thing, a lot of people, the easy excuse is I don't have time for it. But those are the same parents that are there for every practice, that are there for every game. So, what we do is we try to minimize the amount of meetings and or, share with the potential volunteers that the more board members that we do have, the less that they'll be required to help us out. So it's hard. It's a constant challenge. And that's where if anybody wants to join the board, I do not tell them no. We find a way to get them to help. And the other thing that I've learned is the difference between a volunteer and what I'm calling a board member isn't much. But when you call somebody a board member, they feel more obligated, I guess, to help and answer that phone call to help out. As a volunteer, they could blow you off. But and I make sure we're respectful of time, and we all have families and other work to pay the bills. But if you volunteer, then we do our best to try to minimize the time commitment, as long as we have a group effort to do so.
All right. Well, thank you, Matt. Just two more questions that were here that were thrown in. There was a question about, as far as training materials, for coaches and leagues. We obviously have the coaching education program that coaches go through. That is a one-time course that coaches are required to take. It's not a yearly certification or anything, but it is a great asset for people who may not know anything about baseball or softball, but are now pressed into having to coach and teach these kids and work with these parents. And that coaching education program really helps guide an individual who may have very limited background in the sport to know the basics for the kids, as well as, importantly, communicating with the parents, which, both Kurt and Matt touched on here at different points. One of the other questions was as far as the PDFs that we showed, we are going to, in January, try to load some examples into the league portal. These go back to what Mike Moligano was showing, in which that a local league could take them and possibly customize them for their local league, and make flyers, make posters, or if they have somebody that wants to make lawn signs, that they can turn around and do that. If they need some help from headquarters here, we very well could also work with them. So again, that would be a question for their service rep. And we do have the means of printing, not flyers and posters, but we do have the means of printing banners, signs, and lawn signs for instance. So we actually could facilitate and help out the local leagues and, frankly, get you a price that's, closer to cost than something that you might find online from somewhere that's just a business, making signs for you. So that can be another opportunity. So again, that would be a perfect question to reach out to your service rep, either on email or by the phone for those things. The last one we talked about, has Babe Ruth considered adopting the leadoff rules for 10U, 10U, or 9-10U based on a 60-foot basis? I can tell you that the board meeting just wrapped up last week. When the board meets, the rules that they vote on and they discuss are implemented the following year. So some of the things that they were working on are actually things that will come out for the 2023 season. The items that we'll be posting in a few weeks after the new year, when everybody kind of starts thinking maybe about baseball again and we get away from the holidays, you'll see the latest rule changes. And I got a feeling that I'll be talking to both Daniela and Robert Faraday, who's our senior vice president and national baseball commissioner, to come on one of our In the Dugout shows to talk about the latest rule changes and dive into all those wonderful rules. I know my job has changed from the commissioner world to other things, so I'm going to let Robert and Daniela dive into more of those rules, and they can get into really descriptive things for you. So with that, I really want to thank Kurt, Matt, Mike, and Daniela for taking the time. I want to also thank Maureen from Media Vision, who's been working behind the scenes here with me, and Tony Tucci, our Pennsylvania State Commissioner, in order for us to do this. We are going to schedule a In the Dugout webinar. We are going to be looking to do something closer to the end of January. We will have an email out to everybody and a sign-up form. And those that signed up for the webinar tonight, we will be sending out a link to where you'll be able to view a recording of this tonight. And we'll also be sending out a survey form. So again, anybody who gets those survey forms, please give us your feedback, because the more feedback that we get, we can actually take the time to bring on people that could talk about the topics that you really want to cover as a local league, and even potentially as a commissioner. So with that, from Stephen Tellison, our president and CEO, to our international board of directors and the rest of us at Babe Ruth headquarters, I want to wish everybody a great holiday season. Everybody continue to be safe, and whether Major League Baseball is ready to go or not in 2022, Babe Ruth League is for sure. So we're looking forward to getting back out on the field, and thank you for taking the time tonight.